Well, here's another step in our seemingly never-ending rat rod saga. Basically, what I got here is this old hydromatic down here. Not shifting right. I got first, second, and third. I didn't really want to shift in fourth. I talked to a guy and he says that the linkage is super critical. So here's the kick down lever. This moves an inch. This moves like 1.25 inches. One of the reasons I didn't put it on in the first place is because it's here in the master cylinder. The way these old transmissions work, they don't really have a torque converter. They've got like 2 fluid converters, and first and second, one's on, one's off, and they go through another. The front one's on, the second one's off, and then they lock another shaft, and then second to third, the back one's on, the front one's off, and another shaft, and fourth, front one's on and back one's on, so it gives it direct drive. So anyway, if I got a good 1, 2, 3 shift, that means that the pressure and clutches and everything are okay for fourth, and it didn't want to shift into fourth. So I talked to an old hydro guy, and he says, do you have the original linkage? And I says, no, I used kickdown cables. And he says, oh, well, that's your problem. He says, if it's shifting 1, 2, 3, then it has to be the kickdown. So I started trying to figure this out. The reason I didn't in the first place, like I said, it was interfering with the brake. Or the brake was where it needed to go. So anyway, what I did, I just tack welded that down into this plate where it originally went. I moved it back about 1/2 inch, but that's where this was originally on the motor. And here's the second part of the saga. This was originally on the on a manifold about here. I cut this bracket up. I used the steel for something else, so I just tacked it on a bar and clamped it. But you can see that there's a some kind of a rod here that's moving that. This is an adjustment for how far it kicks down. I couldn't figure out any way to put that on there on the dual quad manifold. So what I did do was measure how far this moves in a horizontal fashion compared to how far this moves. Now this is only moving like maybe 1 inch. You can see there on this old 2-barrel, and this is probably 1.5 inches, so the leverage here is a little different. So I measured how far this is going in a horizontal. It's moving in a curve right now, but it's got a horizontal distance that it moves. And looking at the carburetors, I determined that when the carburetor moves, using this hole right here, it's approximately exactly the same. So my idea here was to run this. I just got a piece of brake line bent here, run it into this. I'll put it into this kick down bracket, and you can't really see there, but then this has a straight long shaft or rod that goes down in there. So what I did, I got me a good strong rod here and bent it up roughly where it'll go down in there, and get pretty close to my shift rod. Oh, if I didn't bend that the wrong way. I did. But anyway, I got it down in there. And find it here. There it is. Oh man, I think I might have made this backwards. I don't know what I'm hitting on top. There it goes. Oh, it looks like I've been it right. So what I've tried to do is make this rod. I did ground. Oh, how about that? It fit. So now I've got a good solid rod that's going into the kickdown. I might have bent it the wrong way. No, it looks like I'm in pretty good shape. I'll need to make some more bends in this. And I've got some threaded stock. I can cut this and put some threaded piece on so I can adjust the length. But anyway, this is kind of my idea. It looks like I actually did a pretty good job of the bends. It fit on there. So now I'll get a little more bending and try to get this straight. The only problem is, of course, when I put this stuff all in here, in order to take any of this off, I'll probably have to pull the brakes off, or master cylinder, but it is what it is. If I can get it to run and drive and shift, I'll think about redoing these brake lines in some other way. You know, maybe I can bring one of these out and tee it. But I've got these brake lines kind of bent up anyway, so it's not really important. They'll still stop it, but I have to get it where it shifts into fourth gear. So I'll continue to work on this shaft and show you what I'm doing. It's amazing how long this took. This is about an hour and a half later. I got it running down through there. Here on the bottom, I've got it into the kickdown bracket there, and it's not hitting anything pulling up. I wound up having to take out my kickdown bracket that was in the way up there on the flywheel. It looks like I really didn't have to do that, but getting the rod in and out was the hard part. So anyway, and one of the good things is this is part of the bracket for the kickdown that I cut off to make this, so I can kind of go over there to the manifold where I've got the 2-barrel and maybe get a little better geometry. But anyway, I ground that too much, and it's not even round or anything. I thought it was a smaller hole, but that's good enough to drill it and put a washer and a pin in it. Maybe I'll try to thread it. I've got enough room here to miss that heim joint up there for the shifting mechanism. At least in that position. When I pull it down, I may not. But anyway, this was about an hour and a half work just to get this rod bent to where to go in and move. I must have had several completely rebends. I finally bent it out and straightened it. Did the whole thing. It's still needs a little more bend right there to straighten it out. Next thing, I gotta weld me a piece of threaded rod onto that, and make me some kind of an adjuster. As much work as this was, I'm tempted just to bend it over and make it straight, but I know that that's might save me a little bit of time right now, but I need to be able to adjust all that stuff for my shifter, and then I can go into making this rod here. That one obviously would be nowhere near the problem that the first one was. But anyway, that's kind of where I'm at. I've got some this rod's approximately the same size, so I'll just probably what I'll do is bend this over and try to make a pin that'll go into the thing here, and grind it down, and then cut it off down here somewhere, and then cut this rod and weld a piece on it. And I've got a little coupling that'll work for that. This will give me some adjustment in there. So now I've got the rod in basically the right position. I can start measuring it and cut it off and try to make me an adjustment rod. Well, the first thing I did was take a bolt, put me a flat spot on it, and drill me a hole for a pin. And now I'm going to turn this down so I have a shoulder and something that'll go into that lever, and then I can weld this onto that little shaft. Alright, figure out where our shoulder is. I measure this. It's about 170, and then I got to go through that and a washer. So let's see if we can find a washer here. I need a little flat one. And one of these projects, you got little junk everywhere. Anyway, so that's how I'm going to determine my shoulder. I got 170 here for the bracket, plus a washer. Well, here's another update. I went through this transmission and I drained it all out. I put the right amount of fluid in it. It's supposed to have 9.5 quarts. Still wouldn't shift right. And so I got to thinking that this shifter here, you know, of course it's got some teeth on it there that it's got a spring that's supposed to catch on, and it turned out that it was all, you know, I've got this much play in it, so was a whole gear almost off. So what I did, this is a piece of pair of tongs for a forge. So I knocked this rivet out down here, and put me a shift handle on it. So now there's park, neutral, drive, drive 2, drive 3, and reverse. So these are the detents I have, and you can see there that I didn't really have it in the right gear. So reverse, drive 1, drive 2, drive 3, neutral, and I got park. So anyway, now it looks like it's shifting right. I mean, that's really a rat rod shifter, but it works. There's no detents, no neutral, safety switches, nothing in there. I've got switches right here that I can probably hook up. It looks like right there I've got one for park. I don't know. Anyway, I'll mess with that. But what I was going to try to do is put this rivet back and put the handle, put this rivet here and the handle on it, and then my little cover will fit, and I've got a rubber boot that'll fit, and it'll make it a little bit stronger than this because it's only moving on one pin. This should make the whole thing a lot straighter. But anyway, I think this was probably the reason that all of my problems were in the transmission more than fluid and this and that and the other thing. It was this damn shifter. So anyway, it looks like it's shifting into 4th gear now, and I still haven't got the kick down rod sorted out, but I got the bell crank in, and mounted down to the shifter. I extended this rod, and it looks like it's the same geometry, and I drove it the other day and it looks like it's shifting and so forth. But I had some deals with this rear end hitting the spring perches down in there. So anyway, I got the bolts out. I welded one in here and it just snapped loose when it bottomed out. So I'm going to make a couple brackets out of this big angle iron so it'll fit right flush against that spring. I don't know if you can really see there, but I can't tell on this camera. But I cut those bolts off, the two that hit the spring, and it looks like all clear, and I just need to have a thin bracket on there and get it close to the spring as I can, and I believe I'll miss my bolts, and this will give me a little more movement here in the rear end. This thing is really, you just touch it and squeals tires, and I was doing my playing around with it about 50 miles an hour. It's running in freewheel, and you gas it, and when the motor hits the rear end speed and it engages, that thing just squeals the tires 50 miles an hour like nothing. So anyway, continue on. If I can get this rear end sorted out so it don't hit, I'll make me a couple more U-bolts there for this. Finish cleaning up these wheels. Never-ending project, but we'll press on. Here's one of the brackets. Just squirted paint on it, but it's got a flat place to go in the spring. That notch there on the right is how much travel I'll have before it hits the rear end. from before, you can see it was hitting down there, so that's giving me at least another inch of travel. And the other one, I just welded 2 little bars on it. And this one here should be plenty strong. I just really gooped the weld on there. I bought some rod from, or wire feed stuff from Ace Hardware. It's not very good welding rod. This stuff from Harbor Freight's much better, or Home Depot. But anyway, it's good enough for what I got, I guess. But I don't really like that rod. Doesn't weld well. There it is, bolted in. I've got looks like I measured it just right. It fits the spring real tight. I've got a little, looks like it might interfere just a little bit from this bolt up. I'm going to take a grinder and grind the lock into that nut off there. Same thing on the other side. But
I made sandwiches, Juice. Did you take your pills?
yeah, the bracket looks real good, so that'll be it for that one. Moving on to some more stuff. I've got lights here. They're yellow and white. They're a sequential. They flash left to right or right to left. But I got these for to cover up this big old hole here, and that's what I'm planning on doing. I don't look too bad. And so what I did was weld a little plate on here on both sides, and now I'll just mark these and drill them, and it'll cover up that big open frame there. So it's got a white light and a yellow flashing turn signal, so I'll have running lights on it, but the main thing is cover up this big hole. And I'll have to run some more wires, or at least one for the running light. So that's what I'm doing now. And I got that signal in and kind of taped up, and I'm coming over here to this one, trying to hide the wires best I can. Not going to be very good, but this is the new wire. The white one is the one I ran for my new park lights, and kind of button this up. I've kind of taped my harness up here pretty good, and I'll try to get this sorted out as best I can. I'll probably tape all of this up once I'm finished here, make it look kind of good. Now here it is, all done. The left side, right side, and I have white with parking lights. We'll turn them on. So looks pretty good. Main thing, it covered that big empty hole in the frame, and of course with the headlights on, the parking light goes off. Anyway, that's a cover up a hole. Looks pretty good. Next thing I'm going to fool with here, the belt kept squealing, and I don't know if you can see up in there, but I cut a little out of the bracket and a little bit out of the alternator. I think I got it in the right place, and then I redid the bracket. Yeah, I did a little massaging on it, made my bolt flat, and repainted it. So I'm going to stick that on there and see if I can get the alternator to tighten up right now. I think I'll be alright. Well, that didn't look like much success. I ground it in the wrong place. Well, it's in the right place, it's just not near enough. I thought it was hitting the corner, but it's hitting up on the base of the manifold. Won't do me any good to tighten this one. Maybe I can straighten this a little, knock it down, and lower it. Anyway, I'll try to see what I can get done here. I thought it was close before, but that belt's gonna just squeal like mad there. I got it pulled up here where it looks like the belt's tightened. It's all the way down the bottom of the adjuster, and I got plenty of room here. But if you look down in there, maybe see it, there's a little, I don't know if you can see it there, but the bolt is missing the edge of this water pump. It's going between the bolt and that little plate that I welded for a plug. One second. Well, there it is. I just welded it, threw some water on it to cool it quick as I could. That's a shifter bracket or something I had. It was a 90, and I just welded it flat, and that bolt will go on it right there. So I'm sure that's plenty strong enough for just holding that alternator up. So back to putting it back together. Alright, there's the, hang on, get some light here. There's the bolt on and contacting the plate. Well, I didn't weld it any too low, it ain't too high. I mean, it just barely does it. Anyway, that should be plenty strong enough to move this thing out. So it's easily moving it just if I screwed it with my finger. And it looks like I can clear over there once I get this all raised up. And looks like I might have to bend it back just a little or something. Anyway, I'll get the belt on it and see what kind of setup we got. Interesting, this solved it. I just put a longer bolt in there and put plate in it. The plate was the main thing. It's purple there, and that was the color of an old road stripe belt, and those were spring perch bolts or something like that. I don't remember. I have 2 bolts left. They stole the whole car. Anyway, it's pretty straight. I've got it tight here. I didn't even really lay down on it or anything, but it's all bolted in and tightened up, so we'll see what this fan belt squeals, if they'll go away. I'm sure it will, because I got a lot of adjustment now. I'm a long ways away from the manifold and everything, and I got a good plate for that screw into instead of in between those 2 bolt and the plate. So let's take a little shot of what does that look like. Man, there's a camera light. It's upside down, but you can see I'm, you know, 1/4 of an inch down in the plate. So it's all good. So it's just real easy to tighten it up. And it's not really straight. I can kind of bend that bracket there a little, and this one here, and kind of pry it back if I have to. But anyway, I'll sort out the alignment here when I make sure it don't squeal and everything. I got that all buttoned up. I think I got the right amount of fluid in it, transmission fluid. I took my kick down and it wasn't downshifting, so I moved it one thread out, and let's see what that does to it. We'll go to for a test drive in. I was going to film it, but I forgot. Went out, took it for a ride. It's shifting 1, 2, 3, 4. The low range is keeping it in first and second. High range is still going up into no engine braking, and you can't go into that mode and then pull it down into a lower gear. So you kind of have to start out in that. I haven't quite figured it all out, but it's shifting 1, 2, 3, 4. Third and fourth, kind of a long drawn out process, but it's moving pretty good. I haven't really paid much attention to speed or anything. It'll burn the tires all the way through first and second, and I don't know what's happening to that long shift. You know, jumping on it to get it to shift is opening both of those 650s. You know, and 1.5 is more than enough, so it's running really rich. So I start playing with some jets and leaning that, at least that second, well, I don't know, I'll have to do them both at once because they're both linked together. But anyway, I need to play with those carburetors some more, but it really runs good. Jump on it and let off of it, and it twists a lot, but it's going straight and it's not pulling or anything to one side or another. And when you step on it, it really starts smoking the tires, and it's still not pulling. So I'm pretty sure this is not a positive traction, so it's gonna kind of go straight anyway. But anyway, it runs really good, shifts good now, and man, I could just sort of forget all my worries about pulling that damn transmission out of there and maybe have to change the motor and the adapter and all that crap. I can just leave that alone. I know it's fine. I got a lifter tick in it somewhere, but even if I had put lifters in, that's not that big a deal. Compared to pulling out a transmission anyway. So anyway, it's done. I've got a piece of fencing around here somewhere. I'm going to try to make some kind of a top for it there, and at least pull the top over it. I've got a road runner coming in here in the next few days, and I need to have the space, so I'll put it over there on the other side of the trailer and tarp it up good. And I'll work once I get the road runner in here when she goes to work, and then if I have to work on this, I'll work at it right over there behind where the Lexus is. I got these stickers. They're about a foot big. Put them on the door. They don't look too bad. Finished cleaning up my wheels there. I need to do something about them. But I did a chrome smoothie. Finding stuff for 13-inch wheels though is kind of difficult. I need a tire, at least one on the other side. It'd be better if I had them both. But the sticker don't look too bad. Need a couple more. Need a moon eyes down there on the bottom, and a couple more stickers. Yeah, it doesn't look like what I thought it would. Sort of thought it was gonna look kind of like old paint, but it don't. Anyway, it's running good, idle's good. Looks like carburetor's working. They're a little too rich when I jump on it, but and then I over revved it. Lifter started ticking, so I need to do something about that. Try not to over rev it. It's so easy to do that. This thing spins the tires and you can't really tell.